If this video found you tonight, don't skip ahead. Don't multitask. Don't assume you already know where this story is going. Because what I'm about to tell you doesn't shout for your attention. It waits for it. And the people who leave early, they miss the moment where everything quietly changes. Before we go any further, do one thing for me. Tap the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Not because it helps the algorithm, but because stories like this don't survive unless someone chooses to stay. And this story? It only makes sense at the very end. What you're about to hear isn't fast. It doesn't explain itself. It doesn't ask for permission. It unfolds slowly, the way real moments do. So promise me this. Stay until the last second. People assume I froze because I was scared. That's never been true. I froze because his presence arrived before my thoughts did. Before my mind could decide whether to resist, or agree, or ask questions that would have broken the moment. His breath was already close. Not rushed. Not invasive. Just close enough to be undeniable. A hand settled on my shoulder. Not gripping. Not pulling. Steady. Like someone who already knew exactly how much pressure it takes to stop a person from stepping away, without ever making them feel trapped. Another gentle movement guided me back half a step. Slow. Intentional. Not rehearsed, understood. As if hesitation itself had a shape. And he recognized it instantly. I didn't nod. I didn't move away. I didn't say yes. But I didn't say no either. And in moments like that, silence stops being empty. It becomes an answer. Behind me, a door shifted open, just enough to breathe. I didn't turn around. Didn't speak. Didn't even let my breathing change. My heart was loud in my chest. So loud it felt like it might expose me. The air changed. Heavier. Thicker. Like the room itself knew something had crossed a line where before no longer existed. Then a voice leaned close. Not his. Low. Gentle. Happy birthday. That was the moment awareness replaced uncertainty. Because whatever this was, it hadn't started tonight. The blindfold came next. Soft fabric. Cool against my skin. Not tight. Just enough to erase the hallway light until the world narrowed into sound. Breath. Presence. I didn't resist. Not because I was told to, but because curiosity, when wrapped in calm, can speak louder than fear ever could. I was guided to the couch and sat carefully on the edge. Hands folded. Back straight. Every movement deliberate. As if I knew instinctively that one careless shift could shatter whatever fragile balance had settled over the room. The silence wasn't empty. It felt attentive. I didn't ask questions. Didn't ask who was there. Didn't ask what would happen next. Instead, I focused on breathing. Slow. Even. Anchoring myself to something real. Then the smallest sounds began to register. Fabric brushing softly. Glass touching wood. Movement restrained. Then stillness again. I knew he hadn't left. Not because I heard him, but because the room felt like it was holding its breath. Waiting. What caught my attention wasn't movement. It was the floor. One careful creak near the doorway. Then another. That wasn't him. Someone else had entered the room. I stayed completely still. Behind me his voice returned, calm, controlled. He's here. No explicación. Just truth. The floor creaked again. Closer. Right behind me. My pulse deepened. Don't remove the blindfold, he said quietly. Then he stepped aside. And without seeing a thing, I knew the space had changed. I didn't need sight to know he was there. The space behind me felt occupied. Not crowded. Not threatening. Just present. The kind of presence that changes the temperature of a room without touching anything at all. No one spoke. And in that silence, I understood something important. This moment wasn't waiting for instructions. It was waiting for permission. My breathing slowed before I told it to. That surprised me. Usually, when something unknown enters your space, your body braces, prepares, defends. Mine didn't. It softened. He didn't rush forward. Didn't circle too close. He stood exactly where he was, as if distance itself mattered more than proximity. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady, unforced. Happy birthday. Not loud. Not dramatic. certain. It wasn't the words that landed. It was the feeling that this moment had been imagined long before it ever arrived. Like a quiet decision made years ago, finally catching up to me. I adjusted slightly where I sat. Not pulling away. Not leaning in. Just aligning. My hands remained folded, not tense, contained. The blindfold stayed in place. I sensed movement, not touch, just fabric shifting, breath changing. My partner remained silent. Watching. Allowing. I realized then something I hadn't before. Nothing was being taken from me. Nothing was being demanded. This moment wasn't pushing. It was offering. You look calm like this, the man said quietly. Not uncertain. Not rushed. Just present. He moved slowly, not toward me but around me. Careful. Respectful. Like someone measuring a boundary, he had no intention of crossing without invitation. I want you to lean back, he said. Then paused. But only if you choose to. That pause mattered. More than anything else. I inhaled deeply. Not sharply. Not nervously. Fully. And I leaned back on my own. No guiding hands. No pressure. Just choice. When I stopped moving, he spoke again, closer now, but still restrained. You don't need to remove the blindfold, he said softly. Not yet. I nodded once. And in that moment, time felt different. Not slower. Deeper. I could sense exactly where he stood. Not by sound. Not by touch. By awareness. The kind that rearranges something inside you without leaving fingerprints. You're not alone, he murmured. And something inside me turned. I didn't ask who he was. Didn't ask why he was here. I let myself settle back fully. Shoulders easing. Arms relaxing. This wasn't performance. It wasn't habit. It was presence. I was told you're strongest in stillness, he continued. That when you stop trying so hard, things finally begin. I exhaled. Not from nerves. From recognition. I hadn't realized how quiet the room had become until I noticed my breathing again. Slow. Measured. The kind of breath you take when your body realizes it isn't being chased anymore. He stayed where he was. Close, but never crossing the invisible line that mattered most. Because that line told me something essential. This moment belonged to me. You don't need to become anything tonight, he said. No one is asking that of you. Those words landed deeper than I expected. Because I hadn't realized how long I'd been holding myself together just to keep peace. How often I'd softened my edges. Quieted my instincts. Adjusted myself to fit expectations. My throat tightened. Not with fear. With release. Across the room, my partner shifted. I felt his gaze. Not possessive, not threatened. Curious. Like he was watching me rediscover something he always sensed. But never named. I chose to sit up. Slowly. This time my movement felt different. Not cautious. Intentional. When the blindfold finally came off, the world didn't rush back in. It waited. When our eyes met, something inside me opened. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Completely. I felt seen. Not as a role. Not as an expectation. As a person suspended between who I had been and who I was becoming. Most people think intimacy is about closeness, he said quietly. But it's really about permission. My chest rose with a deep breath. My heart didn't race. It steadied. You've been holding yourself together for a long time, he continued. Tonight you don't have to. Something gave way. Not collapse. Release. My shoulders dropped. My hands unclenched. My jaw softened. From behind us, my partner spoke softly. She never lets herself rest like this. There was no accusation in his voice. Only truth. You're safe, the man said to me. All of you. The room felt both smaller and larger at once. Like the world had narrowed to this moment, yet expanded inside my chest. I leaned forward slightly, closing the distance on my own. Not touching. Just closer. Our breathing found a rhythm. No one spoke. Then the emotion came. Not sadness. Not joy. Recognition. Years of restraint surfacing all at once. My hands lifted without thinking. Then stopped just short of contact. He noticed. And instead of moving toward me, he stayed still. That restraint undid me more than anything else could have. I didn't know I needed this, I whispered. Most people don't, he replied gently, until they're given space to feel. I closed my eyes briefly and let the emotion pass through me. When I opened them again, the confusion was gone. I wasn't overwhelmed. I wasn't uncertain. I was awake. I let out a breath I felt like I'd been holding my entire life. And with that breath, I let go. Not of control. Of fear. Nothing dramatic followed. No sudden movement. No crossed boundaries. Just stillness. Respectful. Complete. He leaned back slightly, giving me space again, proving the choice had always been mine. My partner stepped closer and rested a hand gently on my shoulder. This time, it didn't steady me. It joined me. And in that moment, I understood something essential. This wasn't about desire. It wasn't about temptation. It wasn't about crossing lines. It was about realizing how much of myself I had been denying just to survive. And how powerful it felt to finally choose myself. The room stayed quiet. Not because there was nothing left to say, but because everything important had already been felt.